Hello and welcome back, everybody. We are here to do our Kickoff LAN predictions. And honestly, this event kind of crept up on me. I thought we had one more week, and we don't. But this will be the first RLCS LAN of the year. This will be the NA Open 1 Finals, the Europe Open 1 Finals, and then finally the NA versus Europe Gauntlet style bracket to determine which region gets 5 spots at majors and the World Championship for the entire year. So it's a very, very important. And if you've been watching my previous videos, I've been hinting at this top players thing. I finally got it down to 128 players, top players, but there's been a lot of hectic things going on here at home with snow days and all that, so the kids have been home. So I haven't had time to properly make the entire video yet. The spreadsheet is basically all done, but that will probably have to wait till after both of these LANs are coming up back to back, right? We got FIFA E and we have this RLCS Kickoff LAN. So we'll probably do predictions for these next couple of weeks, and then we'll do that right before Christmas time for a little Christmas present for you all. So let's get into it. We're going to do predictions for all the Euro regions, and then finally who gets that 5th major spot. So we will start in not NA. We will start in Europe. Europe begins on Friday. I believe it's 5 p.m. local time. Makes sense. It's evening time. Europeans can watch their teams. NA will play on Saturday about 5 p.m. local time, which means for NA fans that's much earlier in the day, but it's the weekend, so they'll be able to watch. So it'll be a little bit better there. So we've already played part of these brackets, the top 8. And here's how it panned out. Here's who is traveling to the LAN. We will do it all from this lower part of the bracket here. So we got Gentlemates versus Vitality. So Gentlemates, they were the French LAN winners. So they had a lot of high hopes coming into this event. A lot of people are like, oh, maybe they're the best team. And then there's like, maybe let's wait a second here, because Europe is going to be a lot about parity this year, I feel like. I think I predicted in an earlier video that we might not see higher than a 2-time regional winning team just because of how this all pans out. So I think there's going to be a lot of different winners. There's going to be a lot of interesting moves, mostly because one, Dignitas was the European 2 seed. They've split up. 2, Vitality looks shaky. K-Corp looks shaky. Like K-Corp lost their best player, so to Mina. So it's been like everyone's kind of squeezing together a bit, and then we'll just have to see how it all pans out. But we will start. Vitality, Gentlemates. Vitality got smacked by the Ninjas. Vitality, my predictions, even before this event, I didn't put this out publicly, but I'll just put it out now, is that Vitality will be a great team come World Championship time after a roster move. I don't know what that roster move is, but I think Zen makes a roster move after a bad split 1, where maybe they sneak into a major, don't do well, or something like that, and then Vitality becomes good again, and probably like in contention for like the top 3, like one of those spots in Europe. But I don't know if this is the team just yet. There's still time to gel, obviously, and now these guys, they played 2 days of a tournament. Now they've had time off. They're getting ready for a LAN, which changes things as well. So we'll see how it pans out. But right now, I don't have a lot of faith in Vitality, so I'm going to go Gentlemates after winning that French LAN. It's always nice. I'm going to go with them with a convincing opening salvo to the season, to the LAN. 2 Danes, 1 Bruv, and Nova. So Nova, Nico, Acronic, and Juke versus 2 Danes, 1 Bruv, Edgeby, Acro, and Tempo. 2 Danes, 1 Bruv was my Dark Horse team of the year for Europe. I expect them to cause some damage and could move into that tier 1 of teams. We'll see if that actually happens. The one huge advantage, I think, is that they're playing each other, which I think is great for both these teams, because both these teams are definitely below that tier 1 right now, at the very least. But also, a lot of nerves on the line for these guys. This is one of the biggest matches of their careers. It's an RLCS LAN. It'll be the first time for like pretty much all of them. So very important match, but also very luckily, or maybe not luckily, because 2 Danes, 1 Bruv was doing well, but to play each other here in the first round, so the nerves can kind of dissipate after this match, and one of these teams will at least have a chance to move on and play in the Kickoff LAN as well. So these matches are very important, because if you win this, You're in the Kickoff LAN portion, the NA versus EU gauntlet bracket. If you lose this, you are out and you are done. You traveled here for nothing. You played one match, and now you'll probably be on the desk at some point just chatting it up with the casters. So I'm going to go 2 Danes, 1 Bruv. I think they're going to win pretty dominantly. I like 2 Danes, 1 Bruv a lot. We'll see if they can keep it up for the whole season. But for right now, they do look fantastic. Next up, we got Gentlemates versus K-Corp, a rematch kind of the French tournament. I think Mates beat them 3 times or 2 times. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I do think K-Corp is a team to be reckoned with, especially on LAN. I think Vatir, Lato, and Juicy is going to be a very good team. They should contend for number 1 in Europe. I still think they would probably be number 1 in Europe. I think they will probably be the most consistent team, in my opinion. While other teams are going to have bad weekends, I can see K-Corp like pretty much exclusively finishing top 4. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I feel. I'm going to go a very close match, but I will give it to K-Corp. A lot of LAN experience on that team. There's experience, obviously, on Mates as well, but not to the same level as K-Corp. So I'll give it to K-Corp there. Ninjas versus 2 Danes, 1 Bruv. Ninjas, Jorius, CRR, and Oli. Looked fantastic. CRR, love CRR. Very happy he's on a good team. Jorius and Oli, obviously, we talk about Jorius, had a fantastic end of the year outside of the World Championship, I guess. But I like Ninjas a lot. 2 Danes, 1 Bruv. Today's not that day. Ninjas versus K-Corp. This one's tough because on paper, before the season begins, you're like, well, K-Corp still has the edge in pretty much every single spot. But Europe is going to be a year of parity. Again, I don't think anyone wins more than 2 regionals, and I am going to put that into my predictions as well. And I will go Ninjas with the surprise first win of the year. Maybe a minor surprise based on what they've done so far. But I will give it to the Ninjas in pajamas to take that first tournament. Moving on. Let's go over to the NA side. I'll bring up my NA sheets here so I have it. But NA is kind of the same way now that Energy is out early. You expect Energy to win most of these, but in previous years, like they kind of talked about, Beast Smoke talked about, like, we got a little complacent. Like they've said that before in previous years, yet they would still win, right? It was just like, it's always been an issue with them, or at least it feels like it's always been an issue with them. They play a little bit flat throughout North American regionals, which leads me to then predict them lower at majors, but then they show up at majors, right? So finally, that flatness caught them, and Energy is not even in the top 8, which was crazy. So that opens up the door completely for all of these other teams. So let's get into this now. We'll start with Rebellion versus Foot. So Foot, let me bring it up here. There they are, and Rebellion, just so I have them. So we got Cheese, Frosty, and Sosa on Foot. I would say this team is like tier 1, maybe barely scraping by, I would say, versus the old teams. But they did at least go 2-0 throughout their groups to make it to a top 4 spot. Who did they beat here? I want to bring it up so I don't forget. Foot. They beat Gen G. Obviously, huge result there. That is a big-time result. And then they beat the Kittens as well, which is also a very good team. So, like, Foot's coming out on top. That is very important. But then when they played Space Station, they just got smacked, right? 4-0, which you kind of expected in a way, but at least we had 2 1-goal games, 2 2-goal games. It wasn't like a complete smack, but it was still a 4-0, right? So, we're going to go here with Rebellion. It's First Killer. First Killer's pretty good. Versus First Killer, Coffer, and LJ. Fantastic team. They should be one of the best teams in North America. Probably the number 2 seed, like after everything, but we'll see. I'll give Foot 1 game there. 100-35 was the surprise, in quotations, I guess, of the first group stage. Mostly because they went 3-0 in Swiss, taking down Rebellion, which gave them a very good group, a group that was very winnable, and they got the job done. And then they fell into Redacted, which, it didn't really go their way. I'm going to bring up their rosters here just so we have them. Okay, 100-35. Crispy, CMOS, and Psy. Again, the international teams, watch out for them, trying to take over NA. That they're allowed to be in international because they're going to university. throughout North America, so it makes sense. They're still allowed to play here. Versus Redacted, Wavy, Two Piece, and Talk. Wavy, obviously one of the 1v1, one of the better 1v1 players in the world. So, Two Piece has been fantastic. Talk is like one of those newcomers, but he was like lurking last year, like making some moves here or there. So you expect them to have some momentum coming up, right? Redacted, obviously, big win there. So they're into the top 4. So we expected momentum, probably not this much, but hey, they're there. So 100 by 35, had a winnable match in their top 4, and they lose it. Now they have to go up against Gen G. Gen G, shaky start, but they figured it out. They're one of the teams that I think most people expect them to be at every major. Mostly because they brought in Rise, Magic Bear, and Justin. So it's like, we got Rise and Justin together. Magic Bear's been popping off. You expect them to be at every major. And for them to be at every major, they have to win matches like this. So I'm going to go another 4-1. Next up, we got Space Station versus Gen G. Reveal, Chronic, and Diaz. Diaz showing up, which has always been a question mark in 3s. Again, probably one of, if not the best 1v1 player in the world, outside of Nobo. So they show up big time there. Now we see Chronic. He's performing. He's away from First Killer, which seems to help players here or there. But a lot of times, like, when players leave First Killer, they honestly just wind up slowly deteriorating, and then they're just not in the league anymore, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyone can fact check me. Feel free, because I'm kind of just drawing a blank. But that's what it feels like. Very hot start. Very hot start for Space Station. Probably looks like the best team in NA right now. Can that continue is the question. It probably can. But I think Gen G, on paper, is better than Space Station. And I think Gen G figured it out. And they get a close win. So I'm going to go Gen G. Rebellion versus Redacted. Redacted. It's been fun. You're looking good. But, I mean, it's First Killer. It's First Killer. I'm going to give it to him. And now the most interesting part is, do you count this as a LAN win? I'm going to go First Killer because I think it'll be hilarious, because First Killer will get his first LAN win that will not really count as a LAN win because it's basically an NA Open. And I think that is the perfect storyline for First Killer. He finally wins a LAN, the least important LAN ever. And that's how he gets his first win. Maybe that opens up the door and he starts winning more LANs. Maybe. Would this count as an actual LAN win? I would say no, because I think you would count it only if it's an international LAN. To be fair, I don't even think that the Kickoff LAN, NA versus Europe, is a real LAN, because Mina's not here, who might have the 2 best teams in the world. So, I don't know. But I'm going to go First Killer. Why not? Have some fun. Rebellion wins it. Moving on. We have this gauntlet ladder style bracket, which is really, really cool. I like this format a lot. I don't know if the bracket will stay the same if round 1 goes to an EU versus EU matchup and an NA versus NA matchup. I wonder. I don't know for sure. I didn't really get an answer. I think I asked that question a while ago, but I never got an answer to it. 2 Danes, 1 Bruv versus Redacted. I'm going to go 2 Danes, 1 Bruv. I like 2 Danes, 1 Bruv a lot. They will play K-Corp. But here's the thing. Now you have Space Station, a red hot team down here, versus the Mates, red hot team in Europe, at least with the French LAN. How does this go? I feel like for the sake of international matchups, I'm going to go Mates here and have Space Station fall. So we at least get 1 international match here. But there is a world that we begin quarterfinals with an EU versus EU and NA versus NA. But at least that would guarantee top 4 to have 2 international matchups. K-Corp versus 2 Danes. I think K-Corp will take that. K-Corp versus Rebellion is going to be a lot of fun. Gen G versus Gentle Mates. I think Gentle Mates is going to make a run here. They were a very good team in Europe, and I think they can absolutely make a run. We'll start over here. Ninjas versus Gentle Mates. Does Mates get the rematch? Yeah, sure. Why not? Sure. Because that happens all the time in Rocket League where rematches happen and the other team wins. So we'll take it. Then we got First Killer versus the Tira. It's going to go to Game 6. There's going to be a back wall play, and it's not going to be pretty. K-Corp is going to move on, and the Kickoff LAN ends very boringly. Because now Europe has already locked in their Europe 5 seed, which is always the downfall of a bracket like this, but it's bound to happen, right? It could happen. It could not happen. Maybe it's two North American teams. Very possible. But for me, I'm going to have K-Corp versus Mates. And honestly, at this point, for both these teams, this match really does not mean a whole lot. Like if we go back to Europe, where would we finish the Mates? The Mates lost to K-Corp last time in a top 4 match. Obviously, it matters to try and lock in your spot because whoever wins this locks in Major 1. But you would think both these teams are going to be there anyway, especially now that 5 teams will go from the European side. I think both teams will take it pretty seriously because Europe's going to be very hard. And it's going to be really funny because Europe, we have Ninjas winning early. And now we have 2 different teams. So these teams are definitely in the hunt. But now with 5 teams going to Europe, it's going to be a lot easier. Like, no matter who wins this, I guarantee they will have enough points to qualify anyway. But for funzy, does Vatira get another LAN win? Does this count as a major title? Not really. But Vatira finds a way to win everything but the World Championship, so why not? I think that makes a lot of sense. Vatira comes out on top and gets the win there. So K-Corp will guarantee their spot at the Boston Major. They were number 2 in Europe, and 5 teams are going anyway, so very likely they will go either way. No matter what, though, they will still play in Open 2 and Open 3. Very important to get as many points as possible for the World Championship. So those guys will play as hard as possible. It does not matter that they've qualified. And obviously, a lot of prize money on the line there as well. So there we have it. We got K-Corp moving on. They are going to be your Europe representation for the EU 5 seed, I guess, or at least unlocking it for EU. And NA will have 4 spots going into Major 1, Major 2, and the World Championship. That'll do it for me. This was a little bit longer video than I expected, but hey, that's how all these videos go. We'll also do a FIFA E prediction thing at some point, and then we'll do these top 128 players of all time in the future. It'll definitely happen before Christmas. I guarantee you that. But thank you guys all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.